And we are live. Welcome to the show, everyone. It is Tuesday night, and we're taking over your airwaves as usual at VodPod Media here, downtown San Antonio. We hope wherever you're watching from that you'll give us a like, comment, share. Let us know where you're coming in from. Maybe it's Michigan, maybe it's Wisconsin.
Maybe.
Where the weather is much cooler than it is down south right now. My goodness, we're going to talk about the weather a bit here. With my good friend Nick Askey. Nick, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. It's good to be back.
Good to see you. You're one of the very few people that we've had twice on the show, but you have so much knowledge, and you're such a cool guy, and you've ran 5 freaking ultra marathons. The last time we brought you in, you had just finished your first.
Yes.
And you were telling us it was a life-changing event. And so you thought it would. You were so cool. You were going to do 3. You've done 3 or 4 more.
I did 4 more after that.
What possesses a man to run that much?
You're either running away from something or running to something.
And so, we're going to jump right in, but we're just having some fun tonight, folks. We've got a special 3-week health and wellness series that we put together with the Culinary Ninja Diet and Podcast. Make sure you find him, follow him on social media, get on the website, order some meals, tell him we sent you. He's also going to be here tonight presenting a meal in just a moment, or in a few moments, I should say. But we're having some fun tonight. Big shout out to Gylan Jackson for making all these streams go through and making everything so flawless here. We've got a lot to see and do, a lot to accomplish on the mics. And we hope, maybe the kids are doing all right going back to school as well. We're going to talk a little bit about food, hydration, training, soft tissue, physical therapy, a little bit with Doctor of Chiropractic, Nick Askey. And so we appreciate you coming in. We talked a little bit about the ultras, man. And so talk to us a little bit about your training for these ultra marathons. Because, folks, if you don't know, an ultra marathon is a 100-mile marathon where you just run it straight through. I mean, what are you running these in? 23 hours, 24 hours?
Fastest one is 19:49.
Are you serious?
Last one was like 21:42, but I ran it with 2 buddies and we stuck together the whole time. And you can only go as fast as the slowest buffalo in the herd or whoever feels the worst. You kind of have to go their pace. And overall, it's been good. I'm just kind of challenging myself to, early on, it's like, okay, my goal is just to finish, not die, and not have surgery the next week. And then it's like, okay, it's just kind of a justifiable form of greed to where you're like, I bet I can do better. And it's just turned into a lifestyle to where I originally did it just as a self-preservation to keep me off of Twitter. Because my undergrad degree is in immunology and public health, so I understood everything that smacked us in the mouth in 2020 to a little higher degree than the average bear, in all the misinformation and hate and tribalism that came out of that. Man. I just needed a way to get out of it, and it's like I can't talk shit to people online if I'm running on the trail. But it's been good. I usually run 4 days a week. Just short runs on Tuesday, Thursday, and then I lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then long runs are on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. And so how long are these miles you're putting in on these Tuesdays, Thursdays? You said short runs?
8.
Okay.
Just a quick 8-miler before I get to work, but I start at 3:45 or 4 in the morning because I get into work at 5:45. To get ready for the day. But on the weekends, it'll vary based on when my next race is. So last weekend I did 30 miles, and this next weekend I'll do 36 in the 2 days and just ramp up to about 70 miles in 2 days.
It's a lot of mileage.
You listen to a lot of books, a lot of podcasts, because there's not enough music to entertain you for 6-hour runs.
That's true, man. You get tired of the same old stuff probably. But, you mentioned surgeries. You mentioned, taking care of yourself. I would say you're a pain management expert. Would you say that?
If it wasn't illegal for me to say it with the board, I would say yes. And I think the only thing that separates me from doctors that have licenses to do the same stuff I do is I have a lot more time with people than a high volume clinic where they see you for 4 minutes. They may never take their hand off the door. I have a good half-hour chunk with people to where if I get that glassy-eyed stare when they've had 5 different narratives of what's causing their pain, I can kind of go, okay, they didn't quite understand that even though they're nodding their head. and I'm going to reframe it. Maybe they're a visual learner. I'm going to point it out on the muscle poster, or pull out an anatomy atlas, stuff like that, and really dive into it until I get the confirmation. Okay, yeah, now I understand it.
Yeah.
So it's more of the patient education side, because the healthcare system is set up for failure because doctors get paid on volume. They have hospital administrators riding them like, hey, you need to see this many people. Some doctors are seeing 60 or 80 patients a day, and if you ask them what their patients' names were that day, they wouldn't know any of them.
Yeah.
Because they're treating conditions, not people.
Jeez. That doesn't give the average person much hope.
Well, they're good doctors. They're just in a flawed system.
Yeah, that's too bad, man. I mean, we talk a lot about all the problems that are out there in this country, and you can name any problem. We were talking about poverty. We were talking about, food scarcity. We were talking about, just basic things people need to survive. I mean, we were talking about vehicles earlier, car, upkeep, insurance, to make sure your car is even driving and it's safe. I mean, it's just money. Yep. Money, money talks.
Yeah.
And in the system of capitalism, hospitals, it's all wrapped up. Doctors and patients, it's all wrapped up in the same flawed system.
And there's no easy way around it. People are like, oh, let's do national health care or state sanctioned health care. Like, if you get hurt in Britain, good luck, because you're going to wait 6 months for a Band-Aid. If you need a surgery in Canada, it's like, yeah, we'll see you in June.
Yeah.
So there's positives and negatives to everything, because like, if you make it super affordable and accessible for everybody, then there's not enough healthcare providers to address the population. So it is a system with no real easy answer.
Yeah. So let's talk about that too, because we talk about health and wellness. There's a lot to be said about this. I don't know too many guys, men specifically, that are, I don't know, let's say 35 and up, that ain't dealing with some sort of pain issue, right? If you've like exercising, you like training, you've been an athlete your whole life, our bodies have different demands over time. And at certain points, you start to feel the wear and tear, the mileage, your joints, your soft tissue, your muscles, it can't be that elastic forever.
No.
We wish it could.
Yes.
But it can't. And so tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis and how you advise people, I guess, to be smart about using their body in the right way.
Yeah. And the big thing is the things that will keep you out of my office are really basic. They're very simple. A lot of it is all right, we got to set the foundation of all right, how are you sleeping? You drinking enough water? Are you eating real food, stuff on the periphery of the grocery store, like you talked about last week? Mm-hmm. If you're in the center of the grocery store, you better be buying dog food or dog bones or deodorant. You shouldn't be in there getting stuff with ingredients that our grandparents can't pronounce, or they wouldn't know what it is, or it's made in a lab. And then movement as a whole. And I say movement rather than exercise, because exercise really does intimidate some people. Yeah. Because they think exercise, I got to be doing CrossFit, like what was on ESPN this last weekend. And I don't care if you do jazzercise or you walk or you do Tai Chi or you swim or whatever. I'm not going to judge anybody. If they find something that they like to do, they don't hurt themselves doing it. Yeah. And they are consistent with it, and they latch onto it. Who am I to judge? That's like judging people in an unemployment line looking for a job. Yeah. It's they're doing things that are healthy for them, that are helping them feel better. And then the whole stress management, mental health piece, because a lot of these soft tissue injuries are not directly caused by mental health and stress. It drives me nuts when people are like, oh, my massage therapist told me I hold my stress up here. It's stress doesn't have mass. You can't put it in a bucket and carry it around and weigh it, and it doesn't just camp out in your right shoulder. But the things you do that make you stressed could cause you to change your breathing patterns. You could be stressed because you're an accountant in tax season and you're just like this for 18 hours a day. that's probably what's flaring up your right shoulder. But there are tons of people that I see with like complex PTSD. Granted, I don't want to give people the illusion that I am a mental health professional and I'm managing that, but I have to realize that it is a very relevant piece of the puzzle that I'm help managing, and I can kind of get mental health professionals and therapists on our team, our Justice League, to get those people fixed.
Yeah, and just, being in healthy circles, and health is a subjective thing, right? What's healthy for one person may not be healthy for another person. And then, people are dealt a certain set of cards with, physiologically, genetically, so on and so forth, but you mentioned those pillars. These are the things that everyone can be doing to better their odds, better their chances, right the course, right the ship. And, food especially. I mean, you mentioned, purchasing things that people can't pronounce. I mean, most people don't even look at the label. I mean, we talked about most of our cities, the city that we habitate in right now is predominantly diabetic, obese, and that's with all due respect to everyone. I mean, the statistics will tell you that, but the way we affectionately look at food isn't always healthy. Tacos and Whataburger. Today was like that Whataburger thing. I'm like, I can't believe people even like Whataburger that much, but it's like a national thing. People love Whataburger. People are talking about Whataburger up in the Midwest because they heard about these giant burgers you can buy, like size of a plate. And I'm like, man, is that really a good thing?
No.
But people have that relationship with food, right? Because just like working out, that's people's some form of therapy. Eating is some people's form of therapy, unfortunately. And they're stressed out, right? And they're going to eat ice cream and cake and stuff.
And we're fortunate in San Antonio to be in a gastronomy World Heritage site. But you look at some of the underprivileged areas in like some of the areas where Section 8 housing is, they're in what we call food deserts.
Yeah.
To where the only option you have is convenience store food.
Yeah.
Because if you go if you look at if you go into downtown, like South Side Chicago, good luck trying to find a grocery store because land is so expensive. They're going to put grocery stores where they can build a giant parking lot.
Yeah.
So a lot of these people, they don't have options, but we have options. Like we have H-E-B.
Yeah.
We have Central Market. We have the farmers market at the Pearl every day on the weekend. We have community supported agriculture co-ops that will ship it and drop it at your door.
Yeah.
We have the Culinary Ninja that will deliver it to your house or your workplace. So it like some people are disadvantaged because they don't have access to it. Some people, they just don't know how to weed through the noise of, oh, I heard vegan is the best way to eat. I hear carnivore is the best way to eat. Like, you're not going to make any friends online talking about politics, religion, or nutrition on the internet because it's so dogmatic. But there are certain concepts with nutrition that you could ask any expert and they would probably agree with you. And if you ask any expert in fitness, medicine, training about those 5 pillars, they would all agree that they are important.
Yeah. So tell me those 5 pillars again for those, because again, folks, I mean, what we're talking about, in health and wellness is a thing that you see a lot on the internet as well. You got these influencers out there, people posting videos of them doing, donkey kickbacks or whatever, all this stuff, but we're talking about eating to live and training to live and giving back to your children and leaving a good, strong legacy. I mean, being in and out of the hospital and stuff. I mean, that stuff is not what we want for anyone listening, right? Any of our loved ones. Health is wealth, as they say, right? But you've got to do some work too, right? Nobody's going to give you any of this stuff, right? And, people tell me that all the time, like, hey, Maximo, you're really fit. Well, yeah, I mean, it's come with some work, right? I mean, we train because we want to, and because that's what gives us a sense of purpose and passion, but I guess the responsibility is on us as well, right? I mean, we really have to choose our own destiny and do whatever we can to get us to that next level of health or whatever it is. I mean, a lot of times people, have this realization when it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, their body breaks down. Next thing you know, they're in a hospital bed and they've got to start making some real changes or else they're not going to live very long.
Yeah. A lot of the people that make it to me, they have tried everything. They're in a ton of pain. We're going to be able to fix it, but we have a lot of work to do. But they're buying all these gimmicky things on the internet of like, oh, let me get this stimulator and attach it to me, or let me get this TENS unit, or let me try this cream from Mexico. That's majoring in the minors.
Yeah.
Like, that's like running into your burning house to change the smoke alarm batteries. It's like, let's put the fire out first.
Yeah.
It is in the interest of capitalism to make this stuff more complicated than it actually is, because if we make it more complicated, you have to pay an expert in that field, whether it's a doctor or a nutritionist or a therapist. And I'm not bashing any of them because it's like, that's how I make my living. But I try and make stuff simple, because if you make stuff complicated, then people feel like they need to rely on you. And I don't want that. I want to wean people off of me every time.
Yeah.
So as far as like the basics, like we start with sleep. It's like some people like me, like I don't have the option to get 8 hours of sleep, because I'm at work or working for more than like 16 hours a day. So I average like 6 hours and 40 minutes, but I get a 25-30 minute nap in at lunch. Like I just put headphones in, put nature sounds on, shut my eyes, and I'm asleep. Yeah. And my alarm wakes me up 5 minutes before my 1 o'clock patient gets there. But with sleep, I think people's sleep hygiene and habits and their bedtime routine, if we were like little kids again, where it's like put on your jammies, brush your teeth, this is bedtime, lights out, no phones, no TVs. Like I put my phone on airplane mode and put it in the bathroom. And my watch is my alarm. And our bedroom is totally dark. Like there's electrical tape over the light on the smoke alarm. I keep the bedroom at 68 degrees. And then I have a chili pad on my bed to cool it off, because you need to drop your core temperature by 3 degrees to get into a good, decent REM sleep. And if you look at, like, people are like, oh yeah, I take Ambien. It's like, well, the studies show that you're 3.6 times more likely to die than someone who hasn't taken Ambien. Just all else being equal for age, comorbidities, everything else. And it also decreases your recall from the previous day by 60%, which is equivalent to 6 alcoholic drinks.
Wow.
And they have been shown to increase cancer risk late in life. So it's like,
I believe that.
It's like, get your routine in. Like we want to make sure that we've got a good bedtime routine. We got a dark room, we got a quiet room. We don't have a TV on. Put your night shift on your phone to block the blue light. You don't have to get any more complicated than that. And then just go to bed. Like the bedroom is for things that start with S, and television is not that.
That's right. T is not S, folks.
Yes. So, and then hydration, I know you're going to discuss that a lot next week, but it's like, you don't need to buy like ultra purified electrolyte enhanced water from Fiji. Like, drink water.
Yeah.
Like my people that just drink water, like they do better than if they're like, oh yeah, I don't have my Fiji water, I don't have my essential water, so I'm just going to get a sweet tea from Bill Miller's, or I'm not going to drink any water at all. And it'll affect a lot of things, because like I felt terrible the first couple weeks of COVID when I had to wear a mask for 14 hours a day. I'm like, man, why am I tired? And then I pee and it looks like coffee, because if you have that extra step to pull a mask off to take a drink of water, you're not going to drink water. Yeah. Don't drink a ton of water with meals, because you're going to dilute your stomach acid and you're going to wonder why you're bloated and you have heartburn. Like, try and do your water between meals. Don't go, oh yeah, I saw this crazy chiro on this podcast, and go, no water for me, please. Just don't drink 80 ounces of water with a giant meal, or it's going to sit there and make a home for a while.
Yeah.
And then nutrition, like it's very like dogmatic and opinionated, but I think most people from the vegan to carnivore spectrum of things will agree that non-processed real foods are superior to processed fake foods.
Yeah.
And then you need some amount of protein. Like, you just want to eat, like, Michael Pollan had a book called In Defense of Food. And his simple rules were eat real food, not too much, mostly plants. So it's like portion control, get some veggies, and eat real stuff. Because people can thrive on a lot of different stuff, and nutrition is confusing because everybody has a different gut microbiome. Like, you could probably eat gluten, but if I eat gluten, like, I'm not going to make it 3 more minutes into this podcast and you're going to have to call a plumber. It's not going to work well. So nutrition is just like, all right, eat real stuff on the periphery of the grocery store. Be a NASCAR shopper. Just laps on the outside. Because if you look at the people that are in the interior aisles of the store, I was talking about this with a patient today. I'm like, you could show me someone's grocery cart and put a tarp in front of them, and I can tell you what
I believe
their
that.
general body habit
I believe
is.
that. Yeah.
So it's like if they got a bunch of chips and Oreos and 4 cases of soda and a bunch of frozen Hungry Man dinners, you're not going to see someone that looks like a CrossFitter or an Instagram model behind that cart. It's going to be someone that does not look like they're going to live much longer.
Yeah.
So, and then movement, it's like, all right, like we know that for longevity's sake, you need about 90 minutes of zone 2 cardio a week. And that's not necessarily like training like me for ultra marathons. That's just like, okay, do you want to live longer? Yes. Okay. Do 90 minutes of zone 2 cardio. And what I mean by zone 2, it means like, you should be, you could go into all the like, 220 minus this and this and that, but it's a simple like talk test. It's like, if you can talk not at the level that we're talking, because we're not in zone 2, but if you can kind of squeeze 4 to 5 words out and not lose your breath, you're probably in zone 2. And then for like, old people lose muscle mass as we age, just hormonally. It happens. Like, Arnold isn't as big as he was before. Ronnie Coleman isn't as big as he was before. And those guys are genetic freaks that can hang on to muscle. And it's not just because they're not doing steroids anymore. But everyone loses muscle as they age. They call it sarcopenia, which if you start off with less muscle, you're already in a hole.
Yeah.
And astronauts, when they go up in space, like, they come back with the bone density of 70-year-old ladies because they don't have gravity stressing their bones. Like, we need weight-bearing exercise, preferably some safe form of strength training. And a simple algorithm that Andy Galpin talks about is the 3 to 5. Like, if you want to do upper body, you pick 3 to 5 exercises. You do 3 to 5 reps with 3 to 5 minutes of rest between exercises, and you're done.
Yeah.
If you want to do lower body, same thing. If you want to do core, that's a little tougher because you show me something that's going to max your core out with 3 reps. Like, if you do 3 sit-ups, it's not going to do anything. No. But with upper and lower body, and there's a good, simple source of information for training. Dan John puts out a good system, and he breaks things into push, pull, hinge, squat, weighted carry. So you want to push stuff. You want to pull stuff. You want to hinge like a deadlift or a kettlebell swing or a good morning. You want to do some version of a squat to kind of get balanced leg strength. And then weighted carries builds grip. Because they did a study in 2017 to show that grip strength was a stronger predictor of early mortality than blood pressure.
Wow.
So it's like, all right, like that's
Have at it.
Strong.
Yeah.
And I do think that people should sit on the floor more often. Because if you can't get off the floor, you're in trouble. Like, I had a 55-year-old lady last week that called and chewed my ass because I made her get on the floor to do exercises.
Wow.
I'm like, you could put your damn grandkids on a workbench? Like, how are you going to get off the floor? Do we need to get you a Life Alert subscription when you're 55 years old? And she wasn't in bad shape. She wasn't obese.
Yeah, that's a tough challenge for some people.
Like, I mean, she was like maybe 30 pounds overweight, like most people in this town that think that they're in good shape. But if you're 55 and you can't get on and off the ground, like, good luck.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. Getting on and off the ground. Some people find that as a hassle, right? Like, oh my God, I got to get down. But you should be able to do that. People should be able to do that.
Yeah, and they did another study to where if you're sitting cross-legged on the ground, for every extra contact point you need to get off the ground versus just like pushing through the outsides of your feet to get up, that takes 7 years off your estimated lifespan. So if you have to get on all fours and like grab a chair, it's like say goodbye to 40-something years of your life.
Jeez, man. You're startling me with all these statistics on how bad in shape we are. Let me tell you a good story on the other hand. This made me think of this, man, because we talk about San Antonio. So my dad came into town from Michigan a couple of weeks ago. It's hot as Hades out, right? Folks, if you don't know, it's been hot down here this summer. Anyway, there was a guy. We were driving on the feeder of the highway. We were headed south down 281. There's a guy that his car is stalled out, and it's hot as hell. And I'm behind. I pull up behind the guy. I didn't realize the car was stalled out, but he needed some help. So what do? Automatically pull over. We're getting ready. All right, let's push, right? A guy comes from across the feeder and is going into like war mode to help this guy. I mean, I could tell this guy was like, let me do whatever I can to get you off the road, to get you safe. And I was like, man, this guy's got to be former military, right? Because of just his mentality, right? And then we started pushing. The guy was like, hey, don't worry, I got AAA coming. I really appreciate you guys, man. He's like, I'm in a tough spot. You could tell he was in a tough spot. He's like, that's why we live in San Antonio. Just basically saying how friendly of a city it was. And as the guy who ran across the feeder, across traffic, turns around and goes back, I recognize he has a prosthetic leg. And I'm just like, man, that's what's up.
Yeah.
This guy, he don't even know this guy. He's going in the other direction. I don't know if he's late for anything, but he's willing to run across traffic to help this guy. And I'm like, man, that's a nice guy. I mean, it's nice to know that, people can have your back sometimes around here,
Yeah.
Community.
And to relate to that, like, if that guy has a prosthetic leg, he could easily like just wallow in pity and sit in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work to run a prosthetic. You need a ton of strength. That's why they invented blood flow restriction training, because you can't have someone do squats with one leg with shrapnel in their quad. So they found out the effectiveness of blood flow restriction training to where you can get a lot of strength out of it without a lot of load. But you get these people, they're like, oh, I kind of have, like, there's some boogers in my right nostril, so I'm not going to go work out today. Or the cedar's a little high, so I'm not going to go work out today. It's like, do you think I want to go out and run when it's 82 degrees at 3 in the morning? No, but if you wait for everything to be perfect to go work out, like, that's like waiting for all the lights to turn green before you go to work. Yeah. It's never going to happen, so you're never going to go.
Yeah.
So it's like, I say slow miles are better than no miles.
Yeah.
So it's like a half-assed workout in the gym is way better than just laying around doing nothing, because then you're going to beat yourself up and you're like, hey, I didn't start off the day with a good workout, so I might as well order a pizza for lunch and have some ice cream for dinner, and then I'm going to feel like crap again, so I'm not going to go work out the next day. So it's a self-perpetuating cycle.
Yeah. And so you're touching on a lot of good subjects, man. I mean, and people work out, right? Exercise or find their form of movement and they do it for a lot of different reasons. Like some people I know like to dance, right? San Antonio City, where it's festive, people like to dance in all the different ways. Some people like yoga, they like to stretch, right? Hot yoga. Some people like to lift weights. I know a lot of guys just like to throw weights around. Running, great. Rock climbing, you name it. Martial arts, I mean, whatever. Folks, if you're listening to this, I mean, whatever your movement may be, try to find it, But if you have some pain of some sort, maybe you had a knee injury, that happened 20 years ago, or you have a reoccurring nagging ankle issue, right? I mean, what are some things that people can do? I mean, just generally, without getting into specifics, I mean, you hear a lot of guys having back issues, myself included, knees, shoulders. I mean, I think like 1 in 3 people I know has had a rotator cuff surgery. I mean, you just meet 3 people. One of you had this surgery, or been recommended for the surgery, right? I mean, how can folks, I guess, limit the amount of injury they may be experiencing? And then what are some general things? I mean, people there's different theories on icing an ankle, right? If it's been sprained.
So I'm going to try and give a broad answer.
Yeah, that's a very broad, yeah.
Because you could look into anything from okay, what's your injury history? Was that injury there before you started the problem? Which is most of pickleball injuries in the US is a bunch of old people that they could live their daily life and walk up and down steps if they took their Aleve, like their Flintstone vitamin for adults, and they could go play golf. But when they start playing pickleball, it lifts the veil on something that was already there, and they're like, oh, I got hurt playing pickleball. It's no, you're already hurt. You were just lazy and you didn't do anything before.
Yeah.
So some of these things are they're just exposed. CrossFit's the same way. Running's the same way. Whenever you add volume to a system that has a little thing laying in the weeds, it'll expose it. But the best way that you can prevent things from happening is A, adhering to the pillars, but B, if you look on my Instagram, I have this thing called the big 3.5. If people stretch these 4 things, outside of traumatic injuries, I wouldn't have any work. One is to get your big toe to be able to lift up and extend. Most people who have bunions or just stiff toes, that's going to change the whole way you walk. You're going to shift, and it's going to end up being a hip or back problem or plantar fasciitis. And then getting what we call ankle dorsiflexion, stretching the calves, standing on a slant board. And if you're not stretching your calves for 2 minutes, you're kind of wasting your time, because they're a lot of resilient fast twitch muscles mixed with postural slow twitch muscles, and you need to give them time to kind of acclimate to that stretch. Especially if you wear high heels, you need to double down on this, because you're going to tighten your heel cords up, and then that's going to ripple up into your back. Because if you wear high heels, to not fall forward, you got to send something back, and the J-Lo butt's going back. So then you're locked in extension in your back. The next one is stretching out the front of the hip flexors. Kelly Starrett formed the couch stretch. That's sometimes a little aggressive if people are really stiff. So just doing a basic lunge hip flexor stretch. And then getting rotation in the rib cage. Because if you look at any rotational sport, whether it's throwing a football, swinging a golf club, playing tennis, even getting out of your car, if you're a Lego block up top, you're going to hurt your back or you're going to hurt your shoulders. When Tiger Woods got huge, where he was just jacked working out with Navy SEALs, that was right before he had his 4 back surgeries. Because the upper back is designed to rotate, the low back is not. You can get maybe 3 to 5 degrees of rotation out of the back before you start jamming joints together, and you're about ready to break something. And then a lot of people just have disc issues because they sit too long. They don't walk enough. One of my best friends, he practiced in Bali for 2 years, and he said he saw 3 people with back pain. Because people in Bali, if they're not on a scooter, they're walking, and they can, I saw this 80-year-old man on a scooter with 80 pounds of rice thrown over his shoulder and a sickle, and he's just one arm in that thing. He's 80 years old. He looked like the Dalai Lama with all this stuff on his shoulder. But they walk more. They're more active. Yeah. They sit on the floor because we don't have benches everywhere in Indonesia. Yeah. So he said he saw 3 actual native Indonesians with back pain, where that's 65% of my practice here. And you don't see a lot of back pain in Asia because they can just sit in a deep squat, and that's how they wait for the bus. That's how they go to the bathroom. That's how they read the newspaper. Yeah. You look at traditional Japanese restaurants, you're sitting on pillows on the floor. Yeah. You don't have these bougie chairs that you can sit on every 5 feet, and then you just totally shut off your core and you slouch. So that's kind of the big contributing factors. If you stretch out big toe, ankle, front of the hip, and trunk rotation, outside of contact sports injuries, I wouldn't have any work. So
well, you're in the right country then, right? If we're talking about all these international experiences, right? Indonesia, you went to Italy recently.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have any work in Switzerland.
No. And like, people usually know what's good for them if they can sort through the noise, but people just generally, like, if they don't have direction or someone holding them accountable, they don't listen. That's why I let you in on the secret that could put me out of work, because I know that 95% of people aren't going to listen.
That's a good point.
And then I do think like your exercise of choice should be like a yin yang of what your normal daily life is. Like, I had a conversation with one of my patients to where home life isn't great, sleep isn't great, work life isn't great, and they want to run ultras, and then they want to go to the gym 3 times.
Jeez.
And they're like, I don't know why I'm gaining weight. Like, I don't know why my thyroid is trashed. I was like, I'll tell you why. Like your workout can't be fight or flight if your life is fight or flight. Like, you need to like mirror and match that to where it's like, all right, if you're super stressed during the day, you'd probably do better with like the Andy Galpin 3 to 5, because you just like let your heart rate get down. You still build your strength. You'd probably be better off doing that than going and doing a 40-minute Metcon in the CrossFit gym.
No. There's people have no business doing that. And people ask me all the time because, I mean, I try to be approachable and accessible with this sort of stuff because we want everyone to be successful. We want everyone to win. We want everyone to be healthy. We want everyone to, look good, feel good, perform good, be there for your children, the next generation. You talk about getting off the ground. I mean, I would love to have, someone tell me, man, I'm a grandparent. I never could get off the ground or get on the ground for fear of not getting up to play with my kids. But now I can do that. Dude, that's great. That's all we want. People ask me all the time, well, what can I do to get healthy? I'm like, look, man, go to the trails. Just start walking. Walk the trails, man. Take some water with you. Go early in the morning. Soak up the nature, the sounds, man. And just start there. Start anywhere.
Walking's the most underrated form of exercise. Like, some of the best thinkers in the history of our world, like Nietzsche, like, he suffered from chronic migraines. So some of his best works were written while he was walking because he couldn't sit for long periods of time or he'd get migraines.
Speaking of that, really quickly before I forget, because a lot of stuff keeps coming to mind. You're dropping some major gems on us. Check him out at Kick Askey on social media, folks, for more longer form. We're going to have to cut the show in a bit. We got a lot of stuff going on tonight, but footwear choice. What people are shoes they're wearing. I mean, some of these shoes, come on. They got no business wearing these shoes, man. The big fat padding underneath. I mean, come on, man. And then the way the shoes are shaped. I mean, what are we doing to people?
Yeah, and in general, like, you should have a pretty wide toe box. Not everyone can wear zero drop. But as a general guideline, like, if you have a pretty rigid foot with a high arch, you need a flexible shoe. So it's opposite. But if you have like a Moon Rover flat foot that you could like accommodate to anything and it's like a big flipper, you probably need a shoe that's more on the rigid side. But another thing you want to look for a shoe is if you can poke on the back of the heel and it just folds in, like when we would wreck our shoes as kids and just walk on the back sides of them, that area is called the heel counter. And with all the Flyknit stuff that's coming out, like, you can just like push that down with no force. That's probably not going to be the best shoe for the bulk of people because you need a good purchase on that heel so that you don't get a lot of wiggle all the way up to the hip.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I just see people wearing shoes that are not, I mean, I don't know how people choose their shoes, it's particularly
looks.
Basically looks. And it's the same thing with food. Oh, I eat the food because it tastes good. Well, shit, everything that glitters ain't gold.
Yeah, and like, food companies, they're not stupid. Like, they need quarterly earnings increases, and our population is not growing to appease the CEOs of Kellogg's. So what they do is they make food more evolutionarily addictive because in general, like, Paleolithic history, salty, fatty, sweet foods were seasonal and very rarely available. So we were trained evolutionarily in our like lizard brain to overeat those to the point of sickness because it may be 6-8 months before we find them again.
Yeah.
They're very calorically dense, so you can store fat which is the most dense storage of energy. So they know this. So they're engineering foods to trick our really like ancient biology and neurology and physiology, because they know that it's going to hit those brain centers right next to the same ones that like heroin and cocaine hit.
Yeah.
To where it's like our primitive instincts are telling us more, even when society and doctors and everybody is telling us moderation.
Yeah.
But you try and tell an addict to practice something in moderation, they'd be like, no,
they can't do it.
Not doing it.
And that's important to hear for the parents too, because what we're feeding our kids, right? The kids want the Lucky Charms. The kids want the, you know, the Twinkies and all this stuff, right? And the sugary, what are the gummies, all this stuff, right? It's the same thing. They're hitting on those. It tastes sweeter than an orange.
Like,
why would I want that?
I didn't have a soda till I was 12. Like, we lived an hour away from a grocery store. We ate farm to table before it was cool.
Yeah.
It's like, if we didn't grow it, catch it, or kill it, we didn't eat it.
Yeah.
Like, we had eggs. We had, like, unpasteurized milk. We had 14 acres of gardens. We had meat chickens. We had beef cows. Like, we canned everything. We had a cellar where we kept potatoes and onions. Like, it was, like, scratch cooking all the time, but it wasn't, like, really, like, elaborate stuff. It's like, all right, throw some meat and vegetables in a crock pot with some broth, and that's going to be dinner.
Yeah.
But if you let your kids determine how your whole family's going to eat, it's like you can fake being fit until you're about 30.
Yeah.
And then hormones are going to like expose you as a fraud. And your kids can get away with it, but are you going to sacrifice your legacy and your health because your kid doesn't like vegetables? Like, palates are trainable. Like, if kids get hungry enough, they're going to eat it.
Yeah.
Just don't put it in the house. Like,
yeah,
they're
don't bring it home.
Sneak it at school or whatever. Or if they go over to grandma and grandpa's house, that's grandma and grandpa's job to send them back wild maniacs full of sugar. But just don't let it happen under your roof. Like, I'm not a parent. I can't empathize with that. But it's like, you're the parent. You buy the food.
Yeah.
You pay the mortgage. It's like, it could be a motivating factor to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
Or try his meals out for a week.
Yeah, and it's, you know, listen, folks, we're not trying to preach, but, you know, these are habits that we're teaching our children, right? I mean, you know, the things that we bring home, the things that we model and practice, kids are smart, you know? I mean, they're going to catch on to that. I am a parent, and it is easier to get the kids a Happy Meal or buy them a pizza, you know? I've done this before, but that's, you know, like a treat for all the other days of good eating, right? I mean, there's got to be ways we strategically put good food in front of our kids and you know, entice them to eat it. One of the things we took, one day, I tell you this, man, we went to a Sam's Club and they were giving out some samples of chips and salsa. My boy was like 5 years old at the time. He had some. He liked it. Had a couple of bites. Right afterwards, we went to the trampoline park. Well, he puked at the trampoline park, and I said, "Look, that's why you don't eat that shit." And he never forgot that. Yeah. I said, had you ate an apple beforehand, you probably wouldn't have puked.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that stuck with him. You know.
And how many times have any of us changed our diet? Like, if you were a Coca-Cola person, and then you stop drinking soda for 3 months, and then you're like, I'm gonna treat myself. I'm going to have a Coke. I guarantee 90% of you think it's disgusting.
Exactly, yeah.
Because our taste buds turn over every 2 days. And kids are even faster.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can change your preferences. Like, how many things did you not like as a kid that you now enjoy as an adult?
Yeah.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, half the stuff I didn't like as a kid, I like it now.
Yeah.
Because my palate has changed. Like, when we're eating these processed things, they're so extreme.
Yeah.
And like, I'll recommend like a sport drink for a kid, and they're like, it doesn't taste like Gatorade. And I'm like, no shit. Like, it's not hummingbird food. Like, you don't need all that sugar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. And the biggest takeaway point is it doesn't have to be hard.
Well, listen, you're a direct to the point guy. That's why I like you, man. I like you for a lot of reasons. I appreciate you coming on today and dropping some really big gems and sharing this information with our viewers. We're going to have a lot of quotables here, and so we'll have a lot of clips in store. Stay tuned to your social media outlets, folks. Really quickly, we're going to have the Culinary Ninja come in just a bit and present the meal of the week. We've been talking about food, but I got to ask you, football season's coming up. You're a Packers guy, man. Tell me what's going to happen, because the Packers are changing of a guard, man. Aaron Rodgers is gone.
Yeah, both changing of the guards. The Jordan Love era, and then the Badgers have a new coach and new staff and everything.
Hey,
yes,
come on in, the Culinary Ninja Chef Luna. Come on in, brother. We're going to have a couple of plates. Woo! So come on in. Are you sitting down?
I don't know.
Come on in, man. Sit down.
Yeah, sit down.
Sit down, chef.
Here, just give me your lap. Everybody's. There's an extra chair right there.
We got an extra chair just for you. And we got to have the plates set up just right, folks. And so, welcome, Chef Luna, the Culinary Ninja. Meet Dr. Askey here. We got it all set up for you, folks. We've been sharing these gems with your health and wellness. We've been talking about food that's been queued up just right. I'm in the lowrider chair now.
Yes.
That's an inside joke. Here, let's get you on the mic. So, man, what's going on, brother? Good to see you dressing all black. You got the memo tonight for the guests.
Yeah, I guess so, man.
Y'all looking clean, looking sharp, man. How you doing this week, man?
After this, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
You're pulling the heist, he says.
After this one. I'm good, man. It's been a great day so far. So
Good, man. Well, listen,
week.
we've been talking a lot about health and wellness. We've been talking about food, diet, nutrition, staying hydrated, eating real foods. You know, listen, I've been eating your foods all week. You know, one thing I like about, your foods, and we can probably both speak to this, is the portion size.
Right.
It's just right. You've got the macros on there as well that can lay out, the fats, the carbs, and the proteins. And, the food, it's good, and it's from scratch. As you mentioned, you don't have all the extra stuff in it. There's a couple of chicken meals with rice. It's just right, man. It hits the spot.
right. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about those meals, man, and what you typically do. I know you mentioned from scratch. Talk to us a little bit about what we got this week as well.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this meal here. This meal we actually have on the menu this week. It's a garlicky beef pasta, real simple, right? What I love about this, is actually one of my favorite meals. It's hearty, it's wholesome. Like you were saying, we do portion control everything. This particular meal, it's one of my favorites because I love roasted red peppers. I always get confused if I should look at the camera, look at you.
You
right?
good, bro.
So roasted red peppers is one of my favorite things to eat, man. So that's in the sauce. So this sauce right here is fire roasted red bell peppers, some roasted garlic and onions. What we do with that is we peel those, we throw them in a RoboCoupe or blender, a food processor, add some cream cheese, add some pasta water, a little bit of seasoned pink Himalayan, some black pepper, and some smoked paprika, and just blend it up, and there's your sauce. I think it's delicious. Like I said, the cream cheese helps with the fat intake. You got the rotini, and then you can cook this with ground chicken, ground beef, or ground turkey, whatever protein of choice. And bada boom, bada bing. That's it.
All right, well, we're going to try it, man, because you make them.
Yeah.
Every time this guy brings on the food, Nick, you're welcome, sir. I don't know if you're eating anything right now.
I
but
can't eat gluten.
Ooh!
It's a bad day, so you're just torturing me, man.
Try some of the beef then.
Whatever
maybe
secrets
like
you
just
want
a
me
little
to tell
beef.
you, I'm like, you're
Yeah.
just telling me this. I was like, oh, man.
Okay.
It's in the spot,
Do
man.
you have a gluten allergy?
Yeah, not celiac, but I'm
yeah.
gluten intolerant.
Okay.
I can eat it in Italy
Mm-hmm.
because they use a different wheat and they don't spray it with Roundup, but it just does not agree with me here.
Yeah.
Like, that looks like it'd be worth suffering for, but I don't think my patients would be too keen on me having over my quota of potty breaks tomorrow.
Yeah, no worries at all.
But that sounds delicious.
Yeah. And we do work with a lot of clients that do have like gluten allergies or celiacs, like diabetes and all those other things as well. So we definitely kind of help work around those if you're ever interested. Yeah.
It hits the spot, man. And so, folks, if you're watching this, find the Culinary Ninja Diet on social media. Check them out online. Order your meals. You take meals up until Wednesday, correct?
So we have 2 deadlines, 2 deliveries. Friday midnight for Sunday PM delivery. Tuesday midnight for Wednesday evening delivery. So we got two deadlines, 2 delivery dates. That way you can keep your food fresh, maintain freshness, and you get good quality throughout the week. And you're not sitting on meals all day.
That's right. And so I feel bad, Nick. We couldn't get you the meal. We should have got his. It's a good thing that you know, though, what you can take and what you can't. Most people don't know, right? I mean, people develop allergies later in life or some sort of intolerance, and so it's good to know.
Yeah, and I think that your system is fantastic because, like, a lot of people, they will forget to pack a lunch, not have food, so they go to Whataburger or they go to Subway or they just go to Bill Miller's or whatever.
Diaz Taco House or whatever, right? Yeah.
But if you have like your meals planned, and for somebody like me, like I meal plan on Sundays, and that's a big step. Like that takes a lot of work.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I'm smoking meat for 8 hours every Sunday, but not everyone has the tools, the logistics. Like I don't have kids, and I have a very understanding spouse that likes to eat meat off the smoker. So she's okay with that kind of dominating our Sunday.
Right.
But not everyone has access to that. So if you have this, like there's a price for convenience, but there's also a price for paying a doctor for eating in a convenient setting, and not just ponying it up front.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we definitely try to say that we are a resource and we are a proactive approach to your health.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason, you know, you're going to be seeing a lot more of Chef Luna, the Culinary Ninja Diet here at VodPod Media, here at the Maximo Show. You know, folks, we want to make it simple for you, as Nick said, right? It doesn't have to be complicated, right? I mean, you know, there's a cost for everything. You can pay us now or you can pay it later. And, you know, hopefully, folks, that you're out there thriving, you're out there doing well, you're doing good for the next generation because, you know, you don't want to let your health slip through your fingertips, you know.
It's a controllable factor, man. It is a controllable factor for the most part. Normally, right? Most of us have the opportunity for it to be an actual controllable factor. So you definitely want to maximize that on a daily basis.
And you could put this in front of the pickiest kid. They would eat that. That would be gone.
And it tastes good too, folks. Really good. So make sure you go out there and order. Closing question tonight I got for both of y'all because I was thinking about this earlier.
Okay.
Give me your top 3 to 5 sports movies. Both of y'all. I got to know.
Why did I just get instantly nervous?
Come on. Miracle.
Miracle? Really? The hockey?
Yeah.
Ooh, the hockey.
My youth hockey coach was on that team.
What?
Bobby
Are you
Suter.
serious? And so that was what, the 1984 Olympics?
1980.
1980. Where was that, in Mexico City?
Lake Placid.
Ooh.
I'm going to be upset with myself because I can't remember anything right now. I just drew a blank because I felt like I got nervous when you asked me that question.
You don't know
I
one
have,
sports?
Like, frames of of movies in my mind right now, but I can't remember the titles of them to save my life.
Dude, there's so many. Remember the Titans is a good one.
Which was that one? The one with Denzel? Is that the one
Yeah,
with Denzel?
that was with
Okay,
Denzel.
yeah, that
The
one's
coach.
dope. Yeah, that one's
Rudy,
dope.
Notre Dame,
Yeah,
walk on.
That one's dope, yeah. I can't.
Sandlot.
The Sandlot's a classic. You can't go wrong with the Sandlot.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Killing me, Smalls.
That's a classic. That's a shirt. You got to get that one. I'll give you mine. Any Given Sunday.
Yeah,
Al Pacino,
yeah.
Jamie Foxx, Stephen
that's-
Willie Beeman.
Oh yeah, that speech with Al Pacino. That speech, man.
Oliver Stone film, underrated sports. I mean, who knew he could do sports?
Al Pacino was a man in that. Well, he's a man, period, man. Pacino, Robert De Niro.
He just had another baby.
Like
We're not.
83, popping out a baby.
On that note, folks, we're going to take it home. Hey, thanks so much for being with us tonight, folks. We'll see you next week, Tuesday night, as always. The Culinary Ninja, Kick Askey. Find us online, folks. Guylum, we love you. Take it home. We'll see you next week. Ow!